I'm very grateful that you joined me here. And I'm here to share with you a little bit about how you can live your best year ever using gratitude as the foundation for it. And gratitude is, underlying gratitude is happiness. And when I speak of happiness, I'm not talking about happiness as hedonistic self-pleasure, but rather happiness that is more rooted from contentment. I ask any of you, can you live your best year ever if you're not happy? Okay, let's look at, I'm going to talk about two myths. I want to expose two myths that will suck the energy out of gratitude. It will just suck the energy right out of it. And I want to give you some tools that you can use to enhance the gratitude that you experience on a daily basis. And you might be thinking, exercises for gratitude? Well, just think for a minute. Say you're going to run a marathon. Do you show up on race day and not have practiced, not have trained? Like, why would we expect it to be any different? So these are going to be exercises that you can use and build into your daily routine to help you live a more grateful life. I need to share with you my bias, a perspective that I have, because it shapes the way I see the world. It shapes the way I interact with the world. And it's quite simple. I have a need to give. And I believe every one of us has a need to give. And it's born out of gratitude. And for me, it's for everything that I've received in my life. Okay? So that shapes how I see things. And now what I want to do is, for 23 years I've been an engineer, and I've worn this ring on my right finger, pinky finger. Anyone that knows engineers, you know we do this. And I'm going to take this ring and very dramatically place it on my left hand. Well, every nerve ending in my body right now is saying, Steve, you got the ring on the wrong hand. I mean, can you imagine how that feels? Can you imagine how that feels? I don't think you can. You know that? I'll be honest, I don't think you can. So what I need you to do, first thing, I need you to take a ring that you normally wear on one hand and put it to the other. Everyone, please, if you've got a wedding ring you've never taken off, I don't want you to move that. Okay? But take a ring. If you don't have a ring, because you say, I don't have a ring. Well, if you got a watch or a bracelet, go with the watch or the bracelet. Move it to the other hand. Believe me, if you're home in the audience watching this, do it too. This is just as important for you. It gets harder, so you want to move whatever it is soon. If you don't have a watch or a ring, tie one of your shoes. Tighten it up so that it's really tight so that you notice it. If you don't have that, I'm going to say take your belt, tighten it one more notch. You're wishing you had a ring now, aren't you? Right? Okay. Now, you got to remind me to come back to this, because otherwise you're going to walk out thinking, why'd he do this ring thing? Okay, so let's expose the two myths. Myth number one, the self-made man or the self-made woman, the self-made person. The idea that I did it on my own. Individual, my accomplishments, my achievements, they're my own individual efforts, and they need to be rewarded that way. Whether it's my house, my car, my lot in life, whatever it is, that it's because of me. I'll talk more about it in a bit. Myth number two, one must possess extraordinary means to make a difference in the world. And whether that's, making a difference in the world, that's for people who have a lot of money. That's for people with great ideas. That's for people who have influence over large numbers of people. You need to have extraordinary means to make a difference in the world. Like, I only earn X amount of dollars a year. How is my contribution going to help the people in Haiti? I want to use high school kids to prove that these are myths. And the first two high school kids I want to use are my own, Nick and Steph, my kids. Their first jobs were in a local coffee shop. And I'll talk about Nick. When he first got his job, he, like any good foreign, negotiated his salary, minimum wage. So he's working 6-7 hours a week and minimum wage. He starts in August. By Christmas, Nick's net worth is more than half of the world's population. Half. I mean, how can that be? I mean, he's still in high school. I mean, he's doing well. He's near the top of his class. He's involved in all kinds of extracurricular activities. I mean, he plays way too much Guitar Hero and video games. And here he is, an economic superpower to 3.5 billion people. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I am very proud of Nick and Steph and my kids. But for a moment, do I think that this is his own doing? That it's him? That he's self-made? I mean, if you were my son, who might you credit your rise to economic supremacy? Like maybe your parents, maybe teachers, friend or a mentor, you're the owner of the coffee shop, the people who died for the freedom that we enjoy in our country, people who built the country, maybe the farmers who grew and traded these coffee beans. I think you'd agree that, yeah, Nick is not self-made. And if he's not self-made, boy, it'd be pretty hard to argue that any one of us are self-made. Myth number 2, let's expose that one. 2 years ago, this young boy in the Annapolis Valley arrives his first week of high school wearing a pink t-shirt. What happens to him? He gets pushed around and bullied and beat up. 2 other guys in grade 11 and 12 who don't even know this guy. What is it that we might be able to do here? They go to Frenchie's, buy 50 pink singlets, hand them out to their friends, and half of you who are nodding, you already know this story. Today, if you Google pink and bullying, you will get over 1 million hits, and it's just any audience I speak to knows about this story. I mean, these are high school kids. What kind of economic power do they have? What kind of political influence do they have? They did something and they acted. So, as far as I'm concerned, we could argue about this. I want to say myths are exposed. Let's not forget them, because they will suck the life out of it. My brief journey of gratitude. This picture is circa 1970. It's the Forans. There are 2 people in this picture that are in this room right now, and probably most of them are glad that they're not. I grew up in Halifax, the oldest of 5 kids. You know, the front door on our house was like a turnstile at a train station. You know, friends, family, constantly coming and going. You know, when our friends came over to our house, if no one was there, and if the door was locked, if it was locked, they all knew all they had to do, stick their hand through the mail slot in the door, and hanging on a string was a key, and they could let themselves in. And they'd be there when we got home or when Mom and Dad got home. You know, when we grow up, we didn't have all the designer clothes. We didn't go on exotic vacations. But you know what? None of us ever felt like we were doing without. I mean, I've had a job since I've been 15 years old. I studied business and engineering. I've had the privilege of being able to work in these fields for really the last 23 years. My wife, Linda, and I are going to be married for 25 years this summer, and we've got 2 wonderful kids, Nick and Steph. We live just west of Halifax in a place called Tantallon. So between living in some place west of Halifax called Tantallon, and when I started that story, growing up the oldest of 5, a lot happened in my life.